Something absolutely devastating is happening right now at FHA Estate Abesan 6 in the Surulere-Alagbado area of Lagos State. And the stories emerging from residents are the kind of nightmares that make you question how things like this can happen in a civilized society. Over 70 houses have been demolished or partially destroyed by suspected land-grabbing thugs known as Omo-Onile. And what makes this situation even more shocking and disturbing is that these thugs were not operating alone. They were accompanied and protected by heavily armed Lagos State Task Force operatives and SWAT police officers who provided security cover for the entire demolition operation. Residents who spoke to journalists on Monday described scenes of absolute chaos as bulldozers rolled through the estate, breaking down fences, tearing down houses, and forcefully taking over properties while armed officers stood guard to prevent anyone from resisting. According to multiple residents who witnessed the invasion, the demolition team arrived claiming they were acting on a court judgment and that the land belonged to them. They immediately began marking houses for demolition and demanding enormous sums of money from homeowners to spare their properties from destruction. The amounts being demanded are absolutely staggering. Residents say the thugs are asking for 75 million naira for a full plot, 45 million naira for a half plot, and 25 million naira for a quarter plot. One resident described the terror of watching armed task force officers and SWAT personnel standing alongside the thugs as they destroyed homes, explaining that people are completely paralyzed by fear because the invaders are many and heavily armed. Another resident revealed that after the initial demolitions, the thugs changed their demands and are now requiring each person to bring a minimum commitment of 5 million naira within 24 hours just to show seriousness, and then sign an undertaking promising to pay the remaining balance before February 20. The operation appears to have been carefully planned and executed with military-style precision. Over 300 armed thugs, reportedly led by a man identified simply as Bolu, stormed the estate with bulldozers and began widespread destruction of residential buildings. Some sources have alleged that Akinpelu Ibrahim Johnson, the chairman of Alimosho Local Government, is the mastermind behind the demolition exercise. Johnson is reportedly known in the area by the nicknames Ejigbadero or Omo-Onile, which are terms commonly used to describe land grabbers. According to residents, although Johnson rarely appears publicly, he allegedly coordinates the operations from behind the scenes while the thugs and armed police officers carry out the physical demolitions. If you are watching this video and you want to stay informed about what is happening to ordinary Nigerians who are losing their homes and their life savings to these kinds of operations, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us continue bringing you stories that the powerful would prefer you never hear. What makes this situation even more confusing and suspicious is the conflicting information about who actually authorized the demolition. Residents say the demolition team initially claimed they were acting on the directive of the Federal Housing Authority. However, when contacted, the FHA reportedly denied authorizing any such exercise and completely distanced itself from the demolition. Despite this denial, the team returned the following day with even more bulldozers and hundreds of thugs and commenced even more widespread destruction. More than 50 houses have been affected so far, with some completely demolished and others partially destroyed, leaving dozens of families homeless and sleeping on the streets. The presence of armed police officers alongside the alleged land grabbers has left residents feeling completely helpless and abandoned by the very institutions that are supposed to protect them. One resident told journalists that they begged the armed officers for mercy and tried to explain that they do not have the kind of money being demanded, but the demolitions continued regardless. The resident described how everyone is now living in fear, unsure whether their house will be the next one to be bulldozed, and unable to defend themselves because of the heavy police and task force presence. What do you think should be done about this situation? Should Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu intervene immediately to stop these demolitions and investigate the role of police officers in this operation? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you have not already, please subscribe and turn on notifications.